that?
Well, great to have you here with us. You're back into your routine in New York City with the TV show. Now you're with us, and settle the debate. Break the tie for us, because I think the Broncos dodged a bullet with Matthew Stafford staying with the Rams instead of going to a place like the Raiders. Stoke doesn't think it would have been a big deal if he had ended up with the Raiders. What say you?
Oh, I mean, it just makes the division that much more competitive. I mean, Matthew Stafford is obviously a damn good quarterback. Now, do I think the Raiders' offense is really good? No. I think there's a lot to be desired there, but certainly that would go a long way to fixing it. And when I look at the Raiders defensively and their ability to rush the passer and do some of the things they do, I think it definitely would have made them a better, a more competent football team and it'd make the division more competitive. But do I think they would have all of a sudden, jumped over the top of Denver as the number 2 seed or the number, 3 seed or whatever? No, I don't think. I still think they'd have been number 4 out of 4.
Yes. I mean, I agree with you there. I just don't think that Matthew Stafford, with what he has around him with the Raiders, would have taken a big jump forward. Would they have been better? Of course they would have been better, but what would they have had to give up for him? And then all of a sudden you're going to have to pay him $100 million over the next couple of years. And so that hurts your salary cap out, obviously. He's going to be he's 37 years old. How much really good football does he have left? And I think he's a really good fit there with the Rams. They have a good team around him, but the Raiders don't have a good team around him. So I wouldn't have been overly concerned. I'm almost more concerned that they're going to get it right in the draft and get a quarterback, whether it be Shador or Cam Ward, and then that quarterback's going to be around for the next decade, and it works out for them. I'm more concerned about them getting lucky in the draft than if they got Stafford.
Do you think?
Yeah, I like that. I actually like that kind of perspective. Stafford's a 2-year stopgap. Almost said that backwards, but he's a 2-year stopgap. Whereas you get a guy in the draft that you think can really play, if he develops like we've seen a lot of young quarterbacks develop, that would be more concerning than 2 years of Stafford and then they'd start over again. So, but yeah, Stafford's legit. He's big time.
Well, we all thought there was a good chance he'd stay with the Rams, that cooler heads would prevail, and it did. He stays with the Rams, gets a sweetener for this year, although I don't think any years were added on to his deal. He just got a bump for this upcoming year. So, we still may be revisiting this again a year from now when it comes to Matthew Stafford. Stink, I suspect I already know what the answer is because I kind of caught a little bit of it out of the corner of my eye when you guys were talking about it on your TV show. But should the Broncos have been in on Deebo Samuel, who ended up going to Washington for a 5th-round pick? The asking price wasn't that steep. And for the Broncos having come out and said, Sean having come out and said that he wants a joker, could Deebo have fulfilled that role?
Yeah, I think it's interesting because I think Deebo has been one of the great weapons in the National Football League over the last several years. But, do you want to play that role? Now, Adam Peters is the general manager in Washington. He was with San Francisco, so he would know Deebo as well as anybody would know Deebo. And, my understanding, having done a bunch of San Francisco games, is Deebo is not the most polished route runner. Deebo is not the most skilled wide receiver. Deebo is a weapon, man. Attacks the ball in the air. Once he catches the ball, his run and catch ability, yards after catch, breaking tackles is he's supremely gifted in that realm. All the trick stuff, running out of the backfield, the jet sweeps, the orbit sweeps, all those different orbit reverses, all those different things he is great at. But is he a big-time polished wide receiver? No, it's not. That's not what he does. And so I just don't know that, I don't know. He's gonna. I think he's 30, or he's gonna be 30.
He just turned 29.
Wear and tear. Okay, just turned 29. Does the wear and tear of doing all the things he's done Does that concern you when you're not a super, like you're not the most polished wide receiver? I would think that you would fall off the cliff sooner doing the things that he does than you would as a, if you were just purely a wide receiver.
Stoke, he's played 6 years in the NFL. He's only played a full season once. Last 3 seasons, he's played 13, 15, and 15 games.
Yeah, I mean, Mark, you're spot on. I mean, usually when you play football the way that he plays football, when you get around 30, it ends quickly. And you see the decline very, very quickly. So do I want to give up assets for an aging guy that plays a physical brand of football? And then all of a sudden you got to look at his contract situation, and he's got next year. That's it. So does he want more money moving forward? Will it be a problem if he doesn't get it? There's a lot of variables here, and I think in the Broncos situation that it's just not a good fit. It's just not a good fit to go out there and trade for aging players that play a physical brand of football.
And the other thing, too, Stink, you know what I always say about free agency. We're getting ready for free agency. And anytime, the only thing about free agency that always raises a red flag for me is this. The team that knows him the best is prepared to let him go. And that's the essence of free agency. And in this case, doesn't it say something that Kyle Shanahan, who's known Debo all these years, has seen Debo at his best, has seen Debo at his worst, and for a San Francisco team last year that was really struggling on offense because they were missing some key guys, that Samuel had a career low year when it came to yards from scrimmage. I think it was only like 830 yards from scrimmage. That the fact that the 49ers were willing to move on from Debo Samuel, doesn't that tell you something right there?
Yeah, I mean, it certainly does. The other thing, they've been preparing. And remember, he's been complaining, since he signed that contract of having to do too much. He's been complaining about being that kind of weapon as opposed to being a wide receiver. You saw him, getting the fight in the sideline and some of those other things. And the San Francisco 49ers knew this was coming. That's why they drafted Ricky Pearsall. And why he started playing. And by the way, it's Jawan Jennings. I know they love Jawan Jennings, and Jawan Jennings does a lot of the stuff that Debo does. Maybe not run out of the backfield as much, but is more polished wide receiver. So they've been working toward this for a while in San Francisco. And I'm with you, Mike. That's something you've impressed upon me over the last several years that I have really started looking at more in free agency. One of the reasons I always say you don't go on the first wave of free agency because you're paying A+ money for B- players. Like I think you nailed it with the team that knows him best is saying, "Oh, 5th rounder, that's good enough for us. Let's move on."
Yeah, no, Mark, don't let Mike do that to you. Don't. Just stand your ground. Because listen, every situation's different. Every situation's unique. Sometimes things just run their course. Okay, and it's best for both parties to move on. It doesn't mean that the guy is washed up, the guy's not any good. It just means, okay, hey, we're tired of this, we're tired of that. But that doesn't mean that Washington isn't going to get a rejuvenated Debo Samuel. Well, you just said it, Mark. Adam Peters knows him best. He's the general manager of Washington. He made the trade for him, so he must like something there. He must see the upside there. So just because John Lynch and San Francisco are ready to move on, maybe they're ready to turn the page, like you said, to younger guys and cheaper guys because now they got to pay Purdy. So every situation, I think, is different and unique. And just because a team and a player are separating and parting ways doesn't mean that the player is washed up. We saw it last year with Stephon Diggs in Buffalo. He was a problem there. They finally said enough is enough. They moved on from him and traded him to Houston. And he was playing really well in Houston before he got hurt, and he wasn't a problem at all.
All right, let's switch gears. It was a busy weekend. Let's hit the hardwood. Brought to you by Smashburger. Smashburger made just for you. Here at 8:20, it's never too early to be thinking about lunch.
A little fried egg on that.
Ooh, oh, yes.
Oh, you like that,
Air
Mikey?
high five.
Like
I love the fried egg on a burger. Cholesterol.
Diabetes.
So the Nuggets just up the road from you yesterday, just a few hours up I-95 from New York City to Boston. The Nuggets were there against the defending champs. They lose 110-103 to finish off a 2-2 road trip that Michael Malone wasn't exactly satisfied with.
It's not good enough for who we want to be, and I think a lot of people probably going into this game were like, well, you know what, no matter what happens today, 4-game road trip, really good teams, playing at a high level, 2-2 is pretty good. I don't subscribe to that notion. I want to win every game. I'm a greedy, selfish, and I admit it.
What did he say? A greedy, selfish SOB? Or
I think so. Something like that. So yeah,
a lot of beep in there.
We had to bleep that. We bleeped that out.
I mean, he came strong with that.
He did come strong. Do you guys believe in a moral victory? He kind of hinted that this was a moral victory.
You're never looking for moral victories, but I just liked. I walk out in this arena today. I feel really good about our group, and hopefully we can go home, get healthy, and protect our home court for our next game against SAC.
All right, you think about it. Yeah, the Celtics were down a couple of starters, but no Aaron Gordon. You're at the tail end of a week-long road trip. You are guaranteed a 500 road trip. You don't have Peyton Watson. And the way the game plays out, you're trailing by double digits, 16 points. You make a spirited comeback in the fourth quarter. You don't give up. You're actually only down by, 4 late in the game before finally losing by 7. Stink as the sirens blare in the background.
Yeah.
Do you believe that this can be kind of shaped as a moral victory?
I don't know about moral victory, but I think, we talked about going on the road for these 4 games against, 4 really solid opponents and coming out 2-2. And then you go to Boston and what do they shoot you? They outshoot you 27-13 on the free throw line. Well, the discrepancy is one of those things that always kind of drives you crazy sometimes about NBA basketball. But I don't know about moral victory, but I think you feel good about kind of where you are right now as you get healthy and as you continue to move forward. I think you feel pretty good about the way that road trip went.
Yeah, I agree with Mark. I mean, I don't think he's saying moral victory here, but there's some positives. And when you play 82 games, you're going to have a road trip or a couple games you look at and say, okay, well, kind of is what it is. They played a really good Boston team on the road. They started off bad, and they made a late run. Jamal got hot, and they had opportunities there. They give up an offensive rebound, which really cost them. I think it was Derek White that put that the bucket back in there, and then they have a turnover next possession. Game over, but it's like, okay, not the end of the world here. It's not a moral victory. There are no moral victories. We lost, but there's some positives here that we can take away moving forward.
So, Stink, interesting take here from Stoke, because Nikola Jokic played 39 minutes. At one point, they had to stop the game because he's bleeding on the back of his arm from one of those circus club scratches got opened up. He plays 39 minutes, and the Celtics are packing their defense in on him, and he does not attempt one free throw. Not
ridiculous.
One. Not one.
Ridiculous. Ridiculous.
Stokley said that Michael Malone has to make it a point during the rest of this regular season, risk the fines, whatever it takes to really come out and try to drive through the media how ridiculous it is, this free throw discrepancy.
That is 100%. You have got to, if you have to risk getting a technical, getting bounced out of the game, whatever the case may be, but you can't go in there with Jokic and, 0 free throw attempts. As much time as that guy in a league where nobody plays with their back to the basket, where nobody plays post up, we've got a center that posts up. We've got a center that is unbelievable in the paint, that is great, and you can't draw one foul. You can't make one trip to the foul line. It's insane. That's ridiculous.
Yeah, I like hey, you got to get a tee, get thrown from a game, and then afterwards, you blast the referees and you blast the situation. Jokic is everything here, right? And if you're Michael Malone, you got to go to bat for your guys. You got to go to bat for Jokic, and if that means getting a $50,000 fine, $30,000, sometimes that's just what you have to do.
But do you play that card now,
or
do you wait till the playoffs?
You play it now. You hammer it home now, and then you kind of sprinkle it in, and you remind people along the way here. But you got to set the tone and set the precedent and because if not, the Nuggets, no one's paying attention. Oh, the Nuggets, whatever. We're not going to get the calls. You got to put them on blast.
The hammer,
call them out.
The hammer, then the sprinkles.
That's right.
Hammer time, then sprinkle time.
Just a little